Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for August 26th to September 1st. This week I read 2 books, I watched 1 show, I listened to 2 podcasts, and I listened to 1 book. Ever since I bought my PodCon ticket, I've been like, oh yeah, remember that time I have not been listening to podcasts because audiobooks from the library are a thing? So I'm about a year behind in everything I listen to, but that's okay. I've got time. As you saw in the thumbnail, I've started the Enchanted Forest Chronicles, and it's a good time, let me tell you. This week I managed to read 2 of those books, the first one being Dealing with Dragons by Patricia C. Redd. This book starts out with a princess, and I pronounce her name Chimerine, but I'll put it on the screen right here and you can decide if that's a S or a K. In my head, it's Cimarine. Could be Chimerine, I guess. In any case, we start out with her, and she doesn't really like learning all of the things that princesses are supposed to learn. Sure, they're fine, but they're just not the things she's interested in, so she starts getting her mentors to teach her things like fencing and magic, and basically things princesses are not supposed to do. When her family decides it's time to just marry her off and make her somebody else's problem, she runs away to live with dragons, which is another thing that people are just not supposed to do. But she falls in love with this profession. She really loves being the princess to a dragon. From there, we meet a whole cast of interesting characters. There's a little bit of a mystery that evolves, and we have to figure out how to fight the baddie, basically. And I cannot say enough good things about this series so far. I'm currently halfway through the 3rd book. We'll talk about the 2nd book in just a second, because obviously it's the other one that I read this week. But it's so whimsical and logical, and just proves that people can be whatever they want, and that there are different types of magic, and I just really love it. The 2nd book, Searching for Dragons, is a continuation of the series, obviously, so there are things about it that I can't really discuss because it would spoiler things in the 1st book. But in Searching for Dragons, we find even more characters, and characters we've already met get expanded upon. I also recently found out that this series is actually done as an audiobook with a full cast narration, which sounds wonderful. I actually have the 4th one downloaded to my phone already, so I just need to finish reading the 3rd one, and then I can listen to the 4th one. However, this is the week of BookNet Fest, so who knows if that will actually happen. Basically, if you like magic, or you like dragons, or you like princesses, or you like witches, or you like wizards, or you like magicians, or you like talking cats, this is a series that you should pick up. The friend who lent it to me loves it and is very sad that she's never really heard of anyone else that has actually read them before. And I actually witnessed her the other day find somebody else who had read them, and she immediately gave them a hug. It was pretty dang cute. That was at a Nerdfighter meetup where I asked people for book recommendations, so I'll actually link that up above as well. On to the show I read this week, and if you've been watching for a while, you probably know that yes, it's the 9th season of Survivor. This one is in Vanuatu, and we watched, I think, 13 seasons over 2 different days. Fortunately, that's a lot for one day, although I could do it. And the most interesting thing is that the first man that I thought was going to be voted off is the only man remaining, and he's been the only dude left for the last 3 or 4 tribal councils. That's not to say I particularly like him and want him to win over anybody else, but I just found it interesting that I thought he was gonna go home first, and he is still there. On to the podcasts I listened to this week. I listened to the first episode of SS Librarianship because I downloaded this, I want to say, a year and a half ago onto my podcast thing on my phone, and then just never got around to it because, again, audiobooks. But as I was listening to it and really enjoying this introduction to what is probably an amazing podcast that I know went on hiatus because I've actually met the ladies who run the podcast, I went to download the next episode and realized that the podcast app I'd been using doesn't work anymore and won't download any new episodes, so I had to move all of my podcast listening into a completely different podcast app for Android, and SS Librarianship is not on there, so I'm going to have to poke around the internet and see if I can just find the episode somewhere. Worst comes to worst, I think I follow them on Twitter and I can probably just tweet at them and be like, hey, so I'm finally listening and where can I find it now? This is a podcast led by a couple of people who at the time of the first episode are in library school, but by the time I met them they are librarians. And they're just talking about books and it's delightful. Obviously it's something I would listen to. I also listened to a couple of episodes of Dear Hank and John, which is of course a wonderful format and I adore it. If you aren't familiar with it, it's run by the Green Brothers, who are the Vlog Brothers here on YouTube, and the format is a short poem at the beginning, how are you doing, answering some questions and giving dubious advice, and then giving us all the latest news from AFC Wimbledon and Mars. I'm actually so far behind on this one that they were actually talking about the first PodCon coming up in the episode I listened to, so yeah, I should get on that. There's like an entire year of Nerdfighter in-jokes that I just don't know about yet. And as for the book I listened to this week, that was Top 10 by Katie Cotugno. This one is done in a top 10 format, which I actually found really interesting. This one centers around Gabby and Ryan, two high school students who are just graduating high school, and one of them goes, "What are your top 10 moments of high school?" This is actually a common game between them, you find out because Ryan really loves top 10 lists. So when we start, we're in moment number 10, and it goes all the way down to moment number 1. You find out pretty quickly that they are best friends, but Ryan has always wondered if they could be something more than that. And the whole book is very much a will they, won't they. It obviously jumps around in the timeline of their high school years, and I really enjoyed the format, and I thought it was cute, and it was a really good read. It had the potential to just be something light and fluffy to listen to, but also I really cared when bad things happened to these characters. I would be sitting on the bus on my way to or from work, and I'd be going, oh, I hope Gabby's gonna be okay. My next weekly wrap-up will be from a location different than my couch because I will be in Orlando when I need to film that, so I don't even know when or where I'm going to film it, but it'll happen. Also, I'll probably have a lot less to talk about because I'll have been talking about books as opposed to reading books for most of the week. Last week I actually put up 4 videos, and one of them was a 1K Q&A and giveaway announcement, so if you happen to miss that one, I'll link it up here and down below. Basically, I'm on my way to 1K, I'm just about there, and I want your questions ahead of time so when I hit 1K, I can actually make a Q&A video, which seems to be the thing you do on BookTube when you hit 1,000 subscribers. As an incentive, I'm also running a giveaway. If you give me a question, you are entered into the giveaway. Pretty easy. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye.